Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and this is Thrive Thursday. Yes, good people, we have made it to Thursday, and I am so excited because I know you are operating in victory. I know you have been changing. You have been doing things to build your brand. So I am excited. But we've been building all week. Monday, your communication exposed you. Tuesday, your structure determined what landed. And yesterday on Build a Brand Wednesday, your brand was defined by what people experienced. So by now, you should be moving different. But for some of you, something still feels off. You're saying the right things, you're showing up better, but the results still aren't consistent. And today, we're going to deal with it because your brand can sound right and your life still be completely out of alignment. Now listen to this. James 1:8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Not some of his ways, not just one area, but in all his ways. That means when there is division in you, instability shows up everywhere. In your communication, in your decisions, in your consistency, in your results. And today we're dealing with that instability. And you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Join us on this heavenly journey, one song at a time, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Thrive Thursday. Let's do this. The reality check. Let me show you how serious this is. Research shows people decide if they trust you in just 100 milliseconds. That means before you explain yourself, before you break down your value, they've already made a decision. And it's not based on your words, it's based on what they feel. Your presence, your consistency, your alignment. So if your alignment is off, you've already losing ground before you even speak. And here's the part most people don't think about. You don't get to rewind that moment. You don't get to say, wait, let me explain better. Because people don't wait for clarity when something feels off. They move based on instincts. So now you're trying to build something on top of a first impression that already questioned you. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
You're riding the waves of faith and grace on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Thrive Thursday. Yes, good people, we are one day removed from the weekend. But what people are really responding to? Let's talk about what people are really responding to. You think people are listening to what you say? They are, but that's not all. They're reading your tone, your body language, your confidence, your consistency. Study shows up to 80-90% of first impressions are based on trust and warmth before competence. So before they decide if you're good, they decide if you're real. And here's what that means for you. You can be skilled, you can be knowledgeable, you can even be right and still lose people because something about your presence didn't feel aligned. That's why two people can say the same thing and one is received while the other is questioned. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and this is Thrive Thursday. I hope this information, I hope this show is helping you grow and build in a way that your brand can enhance, that your brand can become or stay successful. So I hope that you're getting this, you're soaking it up, and you're allowing God to just move in your life. But let's talk about the something is off feeling. You've been there. You've been there. You had that feeling, man, something is off. Yeah, something ain't right. You've heard it before. I don't know what it is. Something just feels off. That's not random. That's awareness. Over 60% of people believe they can detect a phony instantly. What they're really detecting is misalignment. And here's the reality. People don't need evidence to feel it. They don't need proof to question it. They just need the moment where what you say doesn't match what they sense. And once that feeling is there, everything you say after that gets filtered through doubt. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. You remember people say, man, you got to fake it till you make it. You got to fake it till you make it. Look like you got it until you get it. Yeah, people used to say that a lot. You can't fake alignment. Here's the problem. Some people try to perform alignment. They rehearse it, they present it, they package it, but alignment isn't something you act out. It's something you live. Because under pressure, the real version of you shows up. When you're tired, when things don't go your way, when you're not prepared, that's when alignment is tested. And if what you show up in those moments doesn't match what you've been presenting, that's where the disconnects happen. Now you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise here on Wayvve Radio. If you got a shout out or request, hit me up and I got you. Let's talk about the trust tax. Misalignment is expensive. Every time your words and actions don't match, you pay for it. You pay in lost trust, missed opportunities, slower growth. People may not call it out, but they start pulling back. They hesitate. They question. They watch you longer before committing. And what used to take one conversation now takes 3. What used to be an easy yes now becomes a delayed decision. That's the trust tax. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.
What's going on, good people? How you feeling on this Thursday afternoon? Man, the weather is just right. Pollen counts are low. Allergies are on point. Man, I'm feeling good. But let's talk about how misalignments show up. Let's make this real. You can say you're disciplined, but you're inconsistent. You can say you value people, but your follow-up is weak. You say you're focused, but your actions are scattered. So what happens? People adjust how they feel. People adjust how they deal with you. They stop expecting consistency. They lower their expectation. They engage differently. And the dangerous part is nobody announces it. They just move different around you. And we talked about this yesterday. People are not going to announce when they're moving different, when they are pulling back from you. They're just going to pull back. And in time, it's no more communication there. The texts are not being answered. The phone calls are not being answered. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Bringing the sounds of heaven 24/7, Wayvve Radio.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about cognitive dissonance. There's a term for this. Cognitive dissonance. Dissonance. When what people hear doesn't match what they see, it creates tension. And the brain doesn't ignore tension. It tries to resolve it. So people either stop believing what you're saying or distance themselves from you completely, because the mind is always trying to protect itself from inconsistency. That's why it's important to have boundaries. You got to have boundaries. You have to have things in place that can help you gauge what's going on in your life, what's going on in your environment, your surroundings, and who you deal with. It's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to have red flags. Oh, this is a red flag. That's a red flag. But don't keep throwing flags. Red flags, when you see them, you have to start separating yourself. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Yes. Man, this is Thrive Thursday, and I know you are out there thriving. You're doing your best. You're doing it correctly because you are aligned. I'm not saying you're not going to make no mistakes, but guess what? It's easy to pivot and to navigate once you make these mistakes when you are aligned. All right, let's talk about internal misalignment. This doesn't just affect other people. It affects you first. When you're out of alignment internally, you feel it. You feel it. Mentally fatigue, lack of clarity, frustration. Because deep down, you know something isn't lining up. And that internal pressure starts to show up in your decisions. You hesitate more. You second guess more. You overthink simple things. And this is why 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace." So if confusion is dominating your mind, that's a sign something is out of alignment. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. We are talking about thriving, and basically we're talking about building your brand. And this week we're talking about communication. Your brand communicates before you even open your mouth, and it starts from within. So I know a lot of y'all out there, you feel stuck. But why do you feel stuck? This is why some of you feel stuck. You're doing the work. You're improving your communication. You're showing up, but nothing is sticking. Why? Because alignment is the foundation. And if the foundation is off, nothing holds. You can build on top of it, but it won't last. You can't build on sand, expect when bad weather or water come and wash away the sand, it's not going to wash you away. You have to build a strong foundation. Think about when they build skyscrapers. They build 10 stories down, anywhere from 5 to 10 stories down before they go up, because now that skyscraper can't be moved because it's planted. The foundation is in the ground. And so your foundation must be Christ. God is our source. He's our power. And make sure you're lining up with your God-given purpose, and you are doing this in Christ Jesus. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's look at a little data. Let's look at some data. Let's look at the cost. This is measurable. 88% of people support brands they feel are authentic. Over 60% will walk away when they sense misalignment. So this isn't small. This is the difference between growth and decline. And here's what makes it real. People don't always tell you why they walked away. They just stop showing up, stop engaging, stop responding, stop supporting. I'm going to say this again. 88% of people support brands they feel are authentic. And over 60% will walk away when they sense misalignment. This is the difference between growth and decline. People, we got to get it together. We got to get it together. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to Thrive Thursday here on Wayvve Radio. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and you're tuned into the Afternoon Praise. Let's look at real world examples. And there's a lot of them out there, but this one comes to mind to me. Let's look at Wells Fargo. They had the message, they had the brand, but their behavior didn't match. It cost them trust, reputations, and billions. But here's the deeper lesson. It wasn't just one mistake. It was a system that was out of alignment. And when the misalignment is built onto the system, failure isn't an accident. It's inevitable. You can't have a message and say, hey, we are for the people. We want to make sure we're building your legacy. And you got systems in place that's holding people down, that's holding people back, that's holding people hostage. Your message got to line up with your systems. And it doesn't last long when people start to call you out. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about some success stories. You know, it's a lot of companies out there. You know, I look at Chick-fil-A. They brand matches, the activity matches, their customer service, the way they navigate, the way they move people through line. It matches. The culture matches. Everything matches. Let's look at Patagonia. Their message, actions, and identity all match. So people don't just buy from them, they believe in them. And when people believe in you, they don't just support you when it's convenient. They stay connected long term. That's power alignment. People are standing in lines at Chick-fil-A. Lines be long. Guess what? I'm going to get in that line right there. Yeah, I'm going to get in there because I know what I'm going to get. Places like Starbucks, people stand in long lines because they know what they're going to get. Let's even look at the iPhones. iPhones are so expensive, but people know what they want. They know what they're going to get. Now, Apple might have a mix up, but guess what? People know Apple's going to get it right. They understand the brand. The brand communicates what it does, how it does, and it stayed true to the message. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's look at truth. Can we look at truth? And I want to add a little scripture to this too. You're not just being heard. You're being evaluated. People are asking, does this match? Does what they say match how they move? Does what they claim match what they produce? I know I said a couple of does there, but that's all right. I stuttered a little bit. And this is why Proverbs 11:3 says, the integrity of the upright should guide them. Integrity means wholeness, consistency, alignment. And if it doesn't, people adjust. Not emotionally, but strategically. They adjust strategically. And again, I'm gonna reiterate this. And they're not going to tell you when they are adjusting. They are just going to do it without saying anything to you. And it's not like, you're lost. Oh, why they not talking to me? Why they not? No, you need to go back and reevaluate. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. What alignment feels like. This is going to be short, sweet, and simple. When you're aligned, you don't have to force it. There's clarity. There's consistent. There's flow. You're not trying to convince people. You're not trying to over-explain to people, because everything about you is reinforcing the same message. Can you repeat that again? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Yes, I will. I will repeat that again. What alignment looks like and feel like. When you're aligned, You don't have to force it. There's clarity, there's consistency, there's flow. You're not trying to convince people. You're not over explaining, because everything about you is reinforcing the same message. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Man, it's been good. This show, man, has really been blessing me. I tell y'all, man, when I study and prepare for the shows, God is just ministering to me. He's preaching to me. He's talking to me. And I am happy to be able to study this message that he gave me, this message, and trust me with this message. But let's talk about the challenge. So here's your move. Don't fix your message today. Fix your alignment. Ask yourself, where does my life not match what I'm saying? And be honest, because you already know. Then make one correction a day. Because Luke 6:45 says, for the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. Let me say that again. Luke 6:45. For of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. What comes out of you is revealing what's really in you. So don't adjust the words, adjust the source. Don't fix your message, fix your alignment. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wayvve Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Man, my time is up. It's been good. It's been lovely on this Thrive Thursday. Man, I got my coffee here. Yeah, I'm drinking my coffee. I'm talking to you all. I'm looking at the responses on social media. Man, I'm having a great time right now. But let me leave you with this. Alignment is the real strategy. Because you don't build trust by talking better. You don't build influence by explaining more. And you don't build a brand by intentions alone. You build it by closing the gap between what you say and what you live. And the truth is this: most people aren't losing because they lack talent. They're losing because there's a gap between their standards and their habits, their message and their behavior, their vision and their discipline. And people can fill that gap, not sometimes, but consistently. That's why things don't stick. That's why opportunities don't convert. That's why trust takes longer than it should, because misalignment delays everything. But when alignment is present, everything accelerates. Your words carry weight, your presence carry authority, your consistency build confidence in others. You don't have to convince people you're serious. Hey, buddy, I'm serious. Okay, but your actions are showing something else. You're saying you're serious, but your actions showing something else. They see it, they feel it, they experience it. And this is where the foundational truths come back. James 1:8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So if there's instability showing up in your life, that's not random. That's a signal that something is divided, something is out of place, something isn't lined up the way it needs to be. And the answer isn't to talk louder, work harder, or explain more. The answer is alignment. Because when you become whole in your thinking, consistent in your actions, and disciplined in your execution, everything about your life starts to say the same thing. And when that happens, you don't have to chase trust. You don't have to chase opportunities. You don't have to chase validation. Because alignment attracts what misalignment repels. So as you move forward, don't just focus on sounding right. Focus on being aligned. Because when your life lines up, your results will follow. And at that point, you're not just talking about anything. You're not just talking about it anymore. You're walking in it. You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. I will catch you tomorrow for Fearless Faith Friday. I am out of here. Peace.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wayvve Radio.